For drifting, I know a lot of people use VR because they really feel like they are in the car, and when they're tandeming next to someone, it gives them that sense, that greater sense of immersion.
I'm wondering because I was very active in sim racing 10 years ago before COVID, and then it was very hard to make a career out of it, and also the options were much more limited in terms of hardware and simulators. And then during COVID, that all exploded. There was so much more viewership, and now there's so much more hardware options, software options. Do you think after COVID that is declining again, or are we still on the up?
Well, I think that there's been a slight decline, but the levels are still much higher than what it was before COVID. And my sense is that there are more people getting into sim racing more than ever before. And there are a lot more options as well available today than ever before. And I think that's a wonderful thing for everybody, whether you're new or whether you are a seasoned sim racer. There's something for everyone today.
Yeah, maybe it's also not clearly defined where sim racing begins or ends. If you look at Forza and Gran Turismo, or then go into F1 2025, when is it sim racing? Of course, iRacing is, or Assetto Corsa, but it's not. So it's very accessible. There's like a ladder almost. You can.
Yeah, and you know that's the great thing about sim racing. I feel you can play it any way you want it.
Yeah.
You know, you can play it as a casual gamer. You can play it as a hobbyist, as an enthusiast, or take it really seriously. You know, and develop your own pursuits, whether as a dedicated sim racer or if you want to transition into real motorsports.
Yeah.
And it's even happening the other way around, the reverse, right? A lot of real drivers are also beginning to discover how sim racing can actually help keep their skills and help them with their real life skills.
Yeah.
You know, so it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also the Conspit ambassador Lauren
Yes.
Henry is an example of that, from sim racing into real racing.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So in the last 5 or 10 years, or like, what do you feel has improved the most, hardware or software or the simulators?
I think it's very much all together, and I, you know, having been in sim racing for or in sim, not necessarily racing, for more than 20 years. You know, I started with a non-force feedback wheel. You know, it was a Mad Catz.
Yeah.
I don't know if you even know what the brand is. And then moving on, the usual transition from Logitech to Thrustmaster to Fanatec, and, you know, Simagic, and now over to Conspit. I've seen the evolution, you know, and I think it goes alongside the games that we play. You know, Gran Turismo today is a lot better, you know, in terms of the graphics and all that, than its first version, its first Gran Turismo version.
Yeah.
Right. Similarly, you see improvements in graphics alongside. When I talk about graphics, I talk visual graphics alongside the advancements in hardware and graphics hardware. You know, your NVIDIA graphics cards, etc.
Also, sometimes you don't realize it, because when I see iRacing now, I feel like I'd always look like this. But then I look at screenshots from iRacing 10 years ago. It's actually a massive difference.
Massive difference, yeah. When you put it side by side, it's a massive difference. You know, along the way, I discovered VR and how immersive that is. I mean, it's literally a whole other world. You know, and that's why I think that the pairing of VR and sim racing is a match made in heaven. Even more so if you add on motion to it, you get literally transported into a different world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just trying it, and then with the force feedback, the level, and even the force feedback on the pedals, and then with VR, and then I know I'm here, but then it's like immediately I forget I'm here. I'm on Spa racing.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, it's very and and you're fully immersed and enclosed. Difficult to describe unless you've actually tried it. And if you have tried it, there are some people who find it difficult at first, but they get used to it after a few sessions. I would say try to push through it because you might find that it is well worth the effort
Yeah.
in terms of immersion.
I think it's important to dial it in, not just to PC, but if you're at the event and sometimes the IPD of the lenses is not correct, and then everything is like slightly blurry, and you jump in, you have, and then maybe the lenses are not clear.
Yes.
And then you try it, but then maybe you get motion sick, or if the hardware is not capable of running it at max frame rates.
Absolutely.
But do you think there's a competitive performance benefit to VR as well?
Okay. Personally speaking, I find that I'm much more able to judge distances and proximity in VR than non-VR with just screens. Conspit has a halo system. But as much as I love that, in terms of the ability to judge proximity, I still feel that that nothing beats VR right now. And before we had this session, we're talking about VR in different applications, and in flight simulators. You look all around. It's not just left and right or behind, but you look up as well. So that's a thing that I feel that there's no other solution right now that can beat VR in such an instance. So in terms of performance-wise, for drifting, I know a lot of people use VR because they really feel like they are in the car, and when they're tandeming next to someone, it gives them that sense, that greater sense of immersion.
I think drift is interesting. I think quite a high percentage of those racers use VR, and also iRacing off-road. A lot of the top esport, they use VR because you're going sideways half the time. And then for road racing or NASCAR, it would be interesting to see VR climb up the ladder also. So I'm wondering from a normal sim racer perspective, because I also went to the Sim Expo in Germany last year, and then you can really see all the booths, and there's so many hardware brands now for seats and pedals and steering wheels or everything. So how does Conspit is quite new entry to that market? I don't know if you can say that's a mature market, but how do you guys find your place or make your place in that market or stand out?
Okay, I think that's a very good question. We're not trying to be everything to everyone. We're very driver-centric focused, in our design. A lot of the key founders and all that at Conspit are drivers themselves. And when I say drivers, I mean they actively race in real-life series.
And I think it's maybe a similar size to Pimax. Is not like a small company, also not like massive, like thousands of employees. So maybe developing products is easier. It's quicker decision making. So how do you guys come up with a product? Is it somebody has an idea, or you go through long R&D, or?
And here's where I need to be very, very brutally honest and frank. A lot of times, a lot of these sim companies, they start with very enthusiastic engineers, engineers who have a very focused idea of what they want to bring to the market. That's not necessarily wrong, but at some point, I feel very strongly to what the community wants. That's why I spent a lot of time reading, watching social media. seeing what people like, seeing what they don't like, and at the end of the day, it's what adds value to their experience, not just about what we want to do, and the kind of features that we want to chase.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there needs to be more of a shift from just engineer focus to more of a customer focus. Yeah. And at some point, it's a bit of a blend of the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the same for Pimax. We have road shows where we can bring early prototypes or we have beta tests, closed beta test, open beta test.
Yes.
And then sometimes we still tweak the product significantly.
Yeah.
And I think we're also, we have our Discord and Reddit and social channels. We also check at what competitors are doing.
Yes.
I don't know for sim racing hardware, but for VR headsets, we still need to compromise a lot. Like there's no perfect headset. Yeah, field of view, the clarity, and the weight, heat transfer, and price.
Yeah, I think the word that comes to mind for me is trade-offs.
Yeah,
it's always about trade-offs. In the sim racing world, similar issues. If you talk about, for example, grips.
Yeah.
Some people like the soft grips.
Yeah.
Some people like the hard grips. But inevitably, grips are also like tires on the wheel, right? If you want a very, very grippy tire, it's not going to last you as long as a tire that is harder and compound.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a trade-off, right? So you have to know what exists out there first, and then see if you can bring an experience to the community that is different.
Yeah.
And difference can mean price. All right. So for someone who, for example, a wheel right now that costs, for example, $500, it locks out people who are not able to afford a $500 wheel. Okay. So the moment you make it less than $500, you are offering a new experience to those customers who couldn't afford a $500.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pricing is also a way of providing a new experience.
Yeah. So we talk a little bit about the last 10 years of sim racing. Where do you think it's heading to? What is next for sim racing?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think in terms of the hardware, unless there's some breakthrough in technology or innovation, I think almost everyone is coming up to a ceiling in terms of the hardware, in terms of offering competitive hardware specifications. I think in time to come, the differentiator will be in terms of the software. I think in terms of sim racing, especially when you talk about PC sim racing, there's still a lot of ground to be gained by making it more accessible.
Yeah.
As you know, right now, there are still quite a lot of people who are on consoles.
Yeah.
And I do recognize the appeal of consoles because it's really simple. Anytime you want to drive, you just jump in, you press A button on the most two, and off you go.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas for I've timed myself once. I personally have a sim racing set with full motion, VR, etc. Right. From the moment I turn the power on to the moment when I drive, it took a good 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So and
maybe it's like real racing. Also, you cannot jump into the car, but
and of course I had all of bells and whistles, like crew chief and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So and even more so if you have a sim hub, things like that you like to tweak with. I mean, all that's really fun. But for someone who is new to sim racing or coming from console, I can imagine that can be a deal breaker, or it can be very daunting. And in PC, as you know, every time there's a Windows update,
Yeah. Yeah, you're running
we all get
you're running a lot of third-party software.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, I do think it's improving. Like with like one example, iRacing is now adding quad views, so you don't need another third-party software to run
Yes.
such a thing.
Yes.
So probably going to be integrated
Yes.
more and more. Yeah. One last question. Maybe it's the car you just drove. What's your favorite car to drive around?
Okay. For me, as a drift car, my favorite would be a long wheelbase Toyota Chaser with a 2JZ engine. It's, 2JC for life. Two JC engines are very popular in drifting, largely because they are very tough, hardy engines and take well to mods. And you can mod a 2JC engine easily to over 1,000 horsepower. Power, yeah.
Okay, I think very interesting discussion. I think for me, working at Pimax, but also as a sim racer. So thank you for your time, and also if the viewers want to join in on the discussion, looking forward to your takes on this also.
Thanks very much, Jaap, for inviting me. Yeah, it was to me it is a real honor to also be able to meet with you and talk to you and share with our viewers what's happening, in our respective companies and the things that we are doing. If you have any interest, look up Conspit on our various social media platforms, or our website, and just drop us a note at info@conspit.com if you want to know anything.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Likewise. Thanks.
Okay.